they feel like they are forgotten. A lot of them will say to me, I can't believe it. Nobody cares. I went over to Afghanistan. I did 2 combat tours. I got blown up. I come home. The government used me up and then discarded me, and nobody cares.
3, 2, 1. What's up, guys? This is Keith Kelfis. Right now I'm here with Sandy Bower. She's the founder of Vets Returning Home. And my wife introduced me to her literally today. But let me back up a little bit. 48 hours ago, I was sitting down having dinner, and my wife had tears in her eyes. I'm like, what's going on? And she said, I met this amazing woman, and I went to her place, and she has this entire facility where men, even guys my age, are coming back from war, and they don't have a place to live or stay. She's created this facility and this nonprofit organization that's helping these guys literally maybe get off drugs, rehabilitate, get back into the world. And the things that my wife told me, I'll save it for this, but it made me cry at the table. We got to get this lady on the podcast. And what you're doing is amazing.
Thank you.
And I want to learn more about this. So what do you do, and how did you get into this?
There is a little bit of a backstory. So 7 years ago, I found this building that was empty. It had been in foreclosure, an old Red Cross building. It's 11,000 square feet, and I bought it. And I started a 501c3 nonprofit. I knew I wanted to do something for the homeless. Reason being is that I was homeless at one point in my life. Mm-hmm. It was decades ago. I was 14. But it's still something that stays with you, So I just researched. I Googled literally homeless in Metro Detroit, and I wanted to educate myself on what was happening in the homeless arena in my area. And so obviously these are our neighbors, our friends that have found crisis, that are sleeping in their cars or whatever. But in my research, that's when I found about the plight of the veterans. And I know as a civilian, we all hear, our veterans need your support. And I was one of those people. I didn't know what to do. Okay, what can we do? I was the one that would buy their coffee at Starbucks or see the military families from Selfridge out at a restaurant for dinner. I would pick up their dinner tab or something because we don't know what to do. We don't know what they need. We don't know why or how they're broken, and we don't know how to help them. So when I decided to start this mission of my nonprofit, I knew once I learned about the plight of the veterans, I knew that was the direction I was going to go. I mean, if we can't help our veterans who have sacrificed and done so much for us,
Amen.
There's just something that I knew I couldn't ignore after I educated myself on the issues that they're having. So I was very fortunate to be in a position. I started my company, my for-profit company, in 1999. It's called Empire Pays, and we're a credit card processing company. And we are very successful. I don't want to paint a picture like I'm major wealthy. I'm not, but I'm more than comfortable. So I've made more than my fair share of nickels. And it was time for me to give back. I felt compelled to do something more fulfilling with the rest of my life. So I turned my company over to my staff and bought that Red Cross building, started Vets Returning Home. That was 7 years ago, and we've housed over 1,700 veterans at our facility. We have 43 beds. The veterans live on site, full commercial kitchen and career closet and resource center, a theater room. We cover all their basic needs. So they live right there. First, what we do is identify the issues that brought them to crisis. And a lot of times, people are like, we as civilians don't understand why they're so broken. When I first started, there were over 1 million disability claims backlogged 2 years. So if you can imagine going overseas, serving our country, going to war, getting blown up, you come home, and it's going to take you 2 years before you're going to get your disability income. So, common sense will say if you're disabled and you can't work, but it's 2 years before you get your disability income, obviously it's going to create a crisis in your life and most likely homeless. Mm-hmm. So that's what I do.
Thank you.
I can honestly say it is, I want to say my pleasure. It's not fun in that way, but it is my honor. It's my honor
Mm-hmm.
That's a better way to put it. It's my honor to do what I do. I'm humbled.
I don't want to put you on the spot, but this story my wife told me when we were out to eat. She said a guy came into like the office. You guys were filming a video or helping to get the word out, and which you've already done in a massive way, but even more so. And the guy was about maybe my age, and he was a veteran. And he asked you a question, but his voice was very meek and humble, as though he had lost all his confidence and self-esteem of the thing that makes a man a masculine man. And he put his head down when he was asking you a question, and you responded to him as a place of like, from a place of unconditional love. And he looked at you and he held you in a place of like, there's this safety, this security.
Right.
And that's what made me cry, because I know what it feels to kind of be in that position somewhat, because I've been homeless and I've been through things. Now, I haven't been to war, but I do have a good friend. One of my best friends committed suicide after he came back from Iraq, and it was very hard. And when she told me that, I could feel what it's like to be in that man's shoes for a second, because it's really hard to go out there and hustle and get your life back on track when you have been just like almost, I don't know what the word is, but kind of had everything ripped away from you.
Yeah.
And so that's amazing that you're doing that. How are you funding this? I have yet to see the place, but I would like to go.
Yeah, actually, I would like to invite, and I extend this invitation freely. Please, if you're in the neighborhood of 11 and Gratiot in Roseville, Michigan, stop in. You don't need an appointment. Pay your respects to these veterans. Let them know that you appreciate their service and what they've done for this country. They feel like they are forgotten. A lot of them will say to me, I can't believe that, nobody cares. I went over to Afghanistan. I did 2 combat tours. I got blown up. I come home. The government used me up and then discarded me, and nobody cares. And I tell my veterans, though, you should see, if you have a chance to stop in around the holidays, between Veterans Day and Christmas, the community always comes through, and those guys get so much attention. The problem is that they're forgotten the rest of the year. And I don't mean that literally, because I have a lot of support through the VFW and the AM Vets and American Legion, and they help me whenever I need help, in churches and the UAW, some of the locals. So, and I have some corporate sponsors as well. So that's how we're funded. It is a community effort. I hate to steal Oprah Winfrey's line, but it takes a village. When I first opened Vets Returning Home, I used my entire retirement account.
More of the Untrapped podcast continues right after this. Have you been thinking that it's time to really market your business in a more effective manner? Keith has spent years testing tens of thousands of dollars on marketing and advertising, and he is just amazed that the 7 most powerful marketing strategies that he's ever found are surprisingly low cost, and some are even free. He distilled down everything that he's learned into a 7-step guide and wants to give it to you for free. If you'd like to download the free guide, it's called 7 Steps to Marketing Your Business. Then simply go to keithkalfas.com/7steps. That's keithkalfas.com/7steps. And of course, the link will be in the show description. The Untrapped podcast continues.
I didn't plan it that way. It just kind of evolved to that. But I have to tell this one quick little story that kind of puts in perspective a little bit of what happens there. But I purchased that building August 1st of 2013. That's actually the day I closed on the building. On August 3rd, I got my first veteran that walked through the door. And he said, I understand that you're helping veterans. And I asked him, are you in a housing crisis or what's going on? And he had been sleeping on the bench outside of Checkers fast food for 3 weeks. So I said to him, well, I don't even know how to turn the lights on. I just closed on this building, so I don't even know what I have here yet. But the utilities are on. You can flush the toilets. You can take a hot shower. I didn't have much to offer, but I told him you can roll up on a sleeping bag. At least you're safe and warm and it's clean. And I said to him, if anybody asks, though, you tell them you're my night watchman because I don't have an occupancy permit. So that's kind of the cool part of the story. It tells 2 things. One, since August 3rd of 2013, my life has been a blur ever since that day. They just keep coming. And 2, it kind of describes really what I lend to this program is I'm an out-of-the-box problem solver, and I don't take no for an answer. So failure is not an option. So that's what I do for the veterans when they first come in, and we identify those issues that brought them to crisis. And a lot of it is what I've observed, we'll say, in meeting with so many veterans. These guys, they were, up until they were 18 years old, they were at home with their mom, and their mom said, get up, get dressed, make your bed. Dinner's at 6. You better be home by 11. And then they went in the military. And Uncle Sam told them right down to the color socks they were going to wear. And after their time of service, they're done with them. They send them home. And these guys have said to me, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Nobody's telling me what to do. You know, they're grown men now, so mom's not going to tell you what to do anymore. But yet they never learned those problem-solving skills that civilians learn. Those civilian kids learn it when they go to college. They learn. Don't take the stipend your parents gave you to last you the month and blow it on a beer and pizza party on Friday night, or you're going to be hungry the rest of the month. Whereas in the military, they don't have to deal with that because they always had the 3 hots and a cot, they call it. But now that they're home, they never develop the same experiences that we did as civilians, learning things the hard way. They come home and now they're expected to know this because they're grown men, but they don't. And so when they get a situation where there is a problem, for example, working a lot of overtime, they cut the overtime and then they couldn't pay their car insurance, couldn't renew the plates on his car, and then he got a ticket for driving an expired plate. And he didn't pay the ticket. And the next time he got pulled over, there was a bench warrant. You go to jail. When you're in jail, you lose your job. And while you're in jail, they impound your car. And then when you get out, you can't pay your rent because you lost your job. And the next thing you know, you're homeless. So these guys have almost layers of issues. They didn't make one wrong turn and end up at Vets Returning Home. It's things just kind of piled up. The fact that their disability claims were backlogged 2 years didn't help. Those, by the way, have been caught up in recent years. So that is no longer the issue with the back claims. They still have to fight like hell to get their claims. And a lot of these veterans don't even want to fight for it. They feel like they don't want to deal with the government. They don't want to deal with the VA. And then they feel like they're asking for a handout or something. And I always tell them, listen, it's like if somebody T-boned you in your car, would you call your insurance agent and make your claim? Well, yeah, of course I would. Make your claim for your disability. You serve this country. This is a benefit that you've earned. It's not a handout. It's the least we can do. The average disability claim for our veterans is $1,200 a month. So that's what they aspire to get is $1,200. And now they're disabled for the rest of their lives. So it's pretty sad. Yeah.
That was a lot. Yeah. You talk about it in a way that is the perfect balance of mission-based, spiritual, emotional, and very logical and practical.
Yes.
So you marry those two together. And so how can I help? What can I do? What can anybody do?
Well, I went through this. I had an epiphany.
Yeah.
During the beginning of this COVID crisis. Prior to COVID, Vets Returning Home was doing phenomenally well. We host 2 events a year, and I'm pretty good at fundraising. And our event was scheduled for March 14th. And it was March 13th when Trump came out and said, 15 days to slow the spread. So I had to cancel our fundraising event the day before it was scheduled. And I have not hosted any fundraising since. And we receive no government funding, and that is by design. There's a lot of bureaucracy that kind of goes along with the government funding. I'm an out-of-the-box person. If I took the government funding, all the solutions have to be in the box, and that's not how it works. So that's why our program is as successful in benefiting so many veterans, is because we can react and respond quickly to their needs.
Instead of dealing with a whole bunch of red tape.
Exactly. So during that COVID lockdown, in the early stages of this, my brain just went crazy, like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? I mean, the last thing we can do is let this program fail and these homeless veterans be homeless again. You know what I mean? With nothing at that point. So I did come up with a couple of different out-of-the-box solutions. I can't, in good conscience, go and ask small businesses to give me money. Our small businesses are in trouble right now because of this COVID situation here. So I came up with 2 different programs that I think truly win-wins. So with my credit card processing company, my company is still and has been doing fine. I have an amazing staff. They've been with me since I started the company in 1999. And that's how I can afford to volunteer, because I still get paid through my company. So I found a solution of, okay, so what can I do? What do I do? And it just made sense to me to go back doing what I am good at. And so I am back out now actively soliciting businesses for their credit card processing. And my company will donate 100% of the profits to Vets Returning Home to build a residual income. I keep saying, like, what if I get hit by a bus? Mm-hmm. If I get hit by a bus, I'm like the energy, if you will, that brings everybody to these fundraising events that we used to host anyway. So a residual income would long survive. The program would survive even long after me, is kind of what I'm saying. So I thought that was kind of a great idea. I don't know if your followers, business owners, let me analyze your merchant account. And I know it's one of those things that nobody wants to deal with. But I looked at it as not only can I help these small businesses by improving on their situations and giving them better pricing on their credit card processing, but then in turn, feed a homeless veteran while we're doing it. So that's one program that I came up with. And I really need help with that. It's a hard industry. I pounded that pavement for 20 years. And the only thing that would get me to go back to pounding that pavement is taking care of these veterans because they're worth it. They deserve it. And it's the perfect solution. Now, I did come up with another program. We call it our Supporting Partner Program. What that is basically businesses are still have to spend money on marketing. So I created this where if a business makes a commitment to Vets Returning Home, like a monthly commitment because I'm really trying to build that residual where no matter what happens with fundraising, dinners and large gatherings and stuff, we need to survive no matter what. So the different thresholds are like there's a package for $25 a month, $50 a month, or $100 a month. And in exchange, because it's got to be a win-win. So for the businesses that participate in our Supporting Partner Program, I brought this plaque.
Oh, that's cool.
So you get this plaque that says we're a proud supporter of Vets Returning Home with our logo. And then they get a window cling, same image, window clings, proud supporter. They get to put our logo on their website, and we put their logo on our website. We come out and do a live stream featuring their business and encourage the community to help support their business while they're supporting our veterans. So
you got a viral idea right there because it would get shared all over the place.
Exactly. And then we also have an ad. We put their ad in our newsletter. I truly do think that it has a lot of reciprocal value. $100 a month. There's a lot of businesses that can't afford that right now that are hanging on by their fingernails. And I totally get that. So that's why the two different programs, I think, if you can't afford $100 or 25 or whatever, if you can't afford to participate in that program, then participate in the credit card processing program because both of them are extremely powerful and beneficial to the businesses because it's not broke. Don't fix it. I would be the first one to tell you if your merchant account is where it's supposed to be. But if I can cut 10 to 30% off the fees that you're paying and take those proceeds to help feed a homeless veteran, then it made total sense to me. What do you think?
I think it's a great idea. I'm also very impressed. I don't mean to put the spotlight on you. It doesn't really expect a response, but how you've moved your life and calling into radical contribution. And when you have a purpose that drives you so hard or God's mandate in your life that nothing else matters and the way will just keep opening up. And I actually aspire to be where you've evolved to.
Thank you.
It's a beautiful place.
I can attest that I'm 62 years old. I've been through lots of ups and downs in my life. I could cite many cases where the more you give away, the more it comes back. And the Bible says, you reap what you sow. And if you want a good garden, you sow the seed. So why do I give it away? I have a 9th grade education. I mean, I was homeless right after the 9th grade. And I had my son when I was 15. Didn't have time to go back to school. I couldn't get a decent job without an education. So when I was 15, I got a job at a factory working midnight shift, and I used to have to hitchhike back and forth to work, which was very dangerous even back then. So I did that for about a year, and then I became a roofer and a drywaller. And I did that until I was in my early 20s. And I could not get a job. So I thought, you know what? I have to figure out how to be a business owner. I have to just work for myself. And I started my first company. By the time I started my third company, which is Empire Pays, light came on, like how to actually be a business owner, you know, and do it right. with integrity. And I've built something I'm very proud of in an industry that doesn't have a very good reputation. Credit card processing, there's a lot of problems in that industry, but I'm very proud of my company. I'm very proud of the accomplishments and the contributions that we've made in the community in making a difference with small businesses, knowing that they're in good hands and we're taking good care of them, giving the right pricing and service and those kinds of things. But this opportunity for me 7 years ago to be able to give back was part of my Christian walk, but big part of my Christian walk. But I just felt like there's got to be more than just making money. I got to the point where it's just like, I don't care to make any more money. I have everything that I need. I need to do something to make a difference now, a big difference. So there came Vets Returning Home.
Keith returns with more in just a moment. Hey, if you're looking for what is probably the greatest software ever to run your business on, go to getjobber.com/Keith. You can create proposals, invoices, collect payments, even track your entire business directly on the Jobber smartphone app. And if you want to get a totally free trial of Jobber right now, open your browser, type in getjobber.com/Keith. And if after the trial you decide you want to sign up with Keith's link, you'll automatically get 20% off your first 6 months. So what are you waiting for? Go to getjobber.com/Keith. Once again, here's Keith Kalfas.
Thank you. You make me, I don't really talk about this much here on my social media, pushing my beliefs on anybody, but I have this kind of a vision. It's like when you die and you pass on and you meet, say it's Jesus, and he plays your whole life before your eyes. And then this one moment comes up where you kind of turned a blind eye, and then that person fell off the edge of the cliff, or those people, or you could have done something.
Right.
And then you can come up with all the excuses in that moment, or beg or cry or say, anything. But you can't go back and fix it because you were fully conscious and aware of what you were doing in the moment. And I do also believe you got to put the oxygen mask on yourself first, and you have to make sure that you're stable, and then you can go out and help others.
Correct.
Otherwise, you'll just end up being swept along with the current over and over and over. I've been there too. Anyways, there's something that keeps popping up in my mind. The definition of confidence is your belief in your own ability to figure things out. And you're talking about the structure that they had. And when you're thrown out into the world with no structure like that, you can lose your confidence very quickly if you've never even built it at all. And when I started my own small business, I came from working jobs, and I was very frustrated. I was like, nobody is giving me a manual or a rule book of how to do this. And I had to reach inside of myself and figure things out. And I still am doing that every day. And that makes me relate to what you're saying. So can you plug websites and stuff? And we're going to put all this in the show notes too below. You can also see this on the Untrapped Podcast YouTube channel. Check all the video descriptions for the links that she's about to say. So where can we go?
vetsreturninghome.org. And then obviously that's our website. Then we have our Facebook and Instagram and all those things. My email address is Sandy, Sandy, at vetsreturninghome.org. My phone number, 586-216-8510. I would like to make a comment on something you just said about giving the guys like direction. And I know you have a lot of businesses that follow you. Am I correct?
Oh, yeah.
So I have mentored many, even prior to Vets Returning Home. I've had an opportunity to mentor young people, mostly young guys, but I find it almost humorous. But they've said to me many times, I know that like wealthy, successful people know the secrets. Like there's secrets to success. And I tell them, absolutely. There's absolutely secrets. If I share this with you, do you promise you're going to follow exactly what I tell you? I'll do anything. I'll do anything. So the biggest things that I can contribute to that is, one, live below your means. If you live below your means, right, you take that extra and stash it, invest it, save it, whatever. You're already successful. Okay, so you have your nest egg and you're building on that. And I used to tell my son when he was 18, I said, honey, it doesn't matter what you do. Throw $200 a month into a mutual fund for 20 years. And in 20 years from now, you'll be 38 years old. You'll have almost $250,000. Doesn't matter if you open a t-shirt stand on the beach in Florida. Be happy. The second thing is the little train that could. That's the biggest secret.
The little train that could.
And it's funny because when I share that with so many of these younger ones that I mentor, they're like, oh, really? That's it? I am dead serious. If you think you can, you can. And if you tell yourself, oh, I don't think I can do that, well, then guaranteed you will fail.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, failure was not an option. I was a single mom. I'm not going home without dinner. I am going to succeed, or I don't know how I would raise my family.
Mm-hmm.
So when we have to do it, we can do it. You just have to tell yourself that failure is not an option. So, and I don't want to let Vets Returning Home's mission fail because of COVID. So I'm going to ask again. I need help.
All right, guys, you heard it. And she told you all the links. Say them one more time.
VetsReturningHome.org.
VetsReturningHome.org. You can also find on Facebook and all the show notes below. So nice to have you on the show, Sandy Bower.
Thank you
so much. How do I spell your last name?
Bower.
Bower. Sandy Bower. Very awesome. And soon, I would like to, if it's okay with you, can we come and shoot a video?
Absolutely.
Cool.
Absolutely. I look at that as any way that we can bring awareness to the community for the plight of the veterans. It's not all about fundraising and raising money and things like that. I don't care if you stop by and drop off homemade cookies. Mm-hmm. We can all do something.
I love it. All right, guys. That's the end of the show. Keith Kalfas, Untrapped Podcast. You can catch us on all major platforms. You hit top 30 in the entrepreneurship category, and Apple, we just crossed 300,000 downloads. You can find us on Apple, Stitcher, iTunes, Podbean, any single place that you can find a podcast, including the Untrapped Podcast YouTube channel. And please go to Apple Podcasts, type in Untrapped Podcast, and leave us a well-worded, positive 5-star review. If you could, it helps pump the show up the algorithm and spreads it out so more people can get this knowledge and information. Later.